Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Max and today we're back with another crafty projecty thing. A while ago I bought these wooden, they're not even wooden, they're like cardboard or something, letters that spell my name. As you can see, I've already had a go at this one at the time, but unfortunately the tissue paper I was using was just like cheap and the colour just sort of like flew away. So the plan today is to decorate these to put up in the new art room, potentially for the background of wherever my intro space is going to be, and based on a sketchbook spread I did a while ago, which I will put here. At this point I decided to smile in a really grotesque manner, so I just covered that up so you don't have to see that. So that's what we're doing today. I hope you enjoy. Prior to recording, I did a white base coat and drew the sketch to speed up the whole filming thing a little bit. This one, the M, took a couple more coats than the others, of course, because it already had the dark green over it, which you can still kind of see through the paint. The overall concept for both this craft project and the original sketchbook spread it was based on was to have a name written in objects or like symbols that represent aspects of my personality and things that I like. The original spread, however, was drawn quite a while ago, like at least a year I'd say, and so I did have to like edit it a bit with what was in there, but it pretty much stayed the same. Like I've not changed that much in the last year, and also you may have been able to tell that the articulation of the letters is different, like they're much more narrow in like the real life physical versions than in the sketchbook. So I did have to reposition the parts that I did keep so that they would fit in a cohesive way. As you can see, I used acrylic paints to colour in all of the objects, which is, I mean, I'd say it's unusual for me because I always end up saying that when I use acrylic paint, but I use it, like, that's all I use when I make crafty projects like this. I can paint if it's this style of painting, if it's realistic. With acrylics, I just can't. And with this project, originally I was thinking, oh, we just keep it nice and simple. You can add details, but you don't need to shade it or anything. You don't need to blend anything. But I ended up doing that with some of it anyway because it looked kind of flat and boring. So as you can see with the flower just there, I added like a darker outline under the leaves to make it look like they were overlapping slightly. The main reason I didn't originally intend on blendy details was because I didn't want it to take forever, like the notebook I did that took 6 hours of my life. This doesn't have pencils in it, so I thought it would take way longer to do the blending without pencils, but it actually didn't. This project only took me 4 hours, which is not what I was expecting. The M took 2 hours, and the A and the X took 1 hour each. I'm not quite sure why the M took longer, but I'm pretty sure if you look at them all together, the M has more, like, content crammed onto it. The others are a little bit more spaced out. I'm going to try not to talk too much about the specific contents of the letters, because then I'll just end up spending 11 minutes talking about myself, and that's not particularly interesting for anyone, really. But for the sake of having something to talk about, I'm just going to pick out like a couple key illustrations on each letter and just explain them a bit. So you can see my cat there at the bottom, that's Dan from the intro, if you don't know Dan. I'm trying to persuade him to do a video with me, but he's kind of gone AWOL at the moment, so that's not really happening. Also, there's that random button there. Now, that is symbolic of the film Coraline, which is like my 4th favourite film ever, the first 3 obviously being Lord of the Rings. So I had to include that because I really like that film. And obviously a lightsaber for Star Wars and a British flag because I live in Britain and I like living in Britain, so that's an important part of my identity, I'd say. And there is an axe and a dice, which at the time of the original designing of this, I was playing D&D quite a lot, which I don't play D&D anymore because all my friends I used to play D&D with no longer don't like me, so it's a bit difficult. Also cheese, obviously I had to paint some cheese, because cheese is like the food of the gods, and it's like my favourite thing to put in my mouth. There are a couple other nods to the fantasy genre, like throughout the whole 3 letters. just because it's like mainly because of the Lord of the Rings, to be honest. Obviously that's, I mean, not obviously, my mum really struggled in figuring out what that was meant to be, but it's an elf ear. I know it just looks like a brown blob, but it's an elf ear, and that just signifies the fantasy genre in general, because I'm a fan of that, as well as that sword there. And I also did a little Korean flag at the bottom to symbolize my learning of Korean, which I'll get to in a minute. And there's also a cello there. Now, at the original time of designing this, I was having cello lessons every week. I still own a cello, I still am able to play the cello, except I can't because I've got really weak hands, and if you know about cellos, they're really difficult to tune because the pegs are really stiff. So I can't tune it, and thus can't really play it. But I still have it, and I just used it to symbolize music in general for this iteration of the design, because I'm very into my music. Talking about me is probably going to get very boring very quickly, so let's move on to talk about this next one, which is the letter A, as you can see. You can probably tell, compared to the last one, that the space in it is much less crammed. Like, I don't think mass-wise that they're different in size, but I definitely didn't add as much things to this one, mainly because both an A and an X are quite irregular shapes. Like with an M, it's like an up-down thing, and you can kind of fit stuff into it much more easily, but because there's so many like diagonals and freaking triangles in an A, it's like, what can I actually fit here? So that's why. As you can tell, the letters don't have any particular theme to them. Like, it's not one letter for fantasy, one letter for, like, my cat or whatever. Like, I haven't categorized them. That wasn't deliberate, that's just sort of how it ended up being. Another reason why the A might look a little bit less full than the M is because I filled the space up with more, like, big things that take up a lot of space rather than lots of little things that squish together. So like the dragon and the massive tree and the planet, they all take up quite a lot of space that on the M would probably have been about like 5 or 6 different things. I think because of these bigger things though, I really got to showcase the sort of half blendy, half cartoony style I was going for, which I actually really liked, especially on the dragon, because it kind of looked not like he was glowing, but he just looked more natural, but also still fun and cartoony. And the same with the tree. The tree wasn't really blended, it was just sort of like layered with detail, and I think it turned out really nicely. There aren't actually many points of interest I can draw your attention to on this one. Like, of course, we've got the social media things at the top, which is Instagram and YouTube, obviously, because that's where I tend to put my art. And we've got the planet Saturn, because I'm into space. I find, like, the whole concept of the infinite blackness out there very interesting. And we have the feminist symbol, because frickin' equality. And a nice wholesome bowl of Marmite pasta, because, other than cheese, well, not quite other than cheese, but like, it's one of my favourite things to eat. Obviously, actual nutritious food is also one of my favourite things to eat, but you know, Marmite pasta, slay. The pencil and paintbrush obviously are also kind of symbolic of my love for art and creating things. If you guys wanted to do anything similar to this for yourself, I mean, like, go ahead, it's not copying my idea or anything, I'm sure there are people who've done this sort of thing before, but like, if you're struggling to come up with prompts of stuff to, like, paint, I did when I was first coming up with the ideas, just think about what your favourite of everything is, like your favourite film, your favourite music genre, your favourite colour, your favourite activity, your favourite, I don't know, video game, whatever hobbies you have. Just think of literally everything about yourself, even the favourite, like, doodles that you do. Just use all of those things. I'm not particularly obsessed with, like, octopus tentacles, but I tend to just put them on everything whenever I'm, like, doodling stuff. This would also be quite a sweet idea to, like, make something like this or draw something like this for a friend for their birthday, just to, like, show that you really know them well. It can be difficult if you don't really know them well, though, and you can just be sitting there like, oh, what? Just sit, if you want to make it for a friend, just sit with a piece of paper and make a list of everything you know about that friend, and I really do pity you if they've got a long name, because you're gonna have to sit there for a while, and everything you put on that list, just try and translate it into some sort of drawing that you can put on their name. I incorporated my favourite colour into the design by painting the background, like basically everything that I left white by the end of filming, I painted all of that in a light version of my favourite colour, and then around the borders I painted it a dark version of my favourite colour, which, because I'm going to put it up in my art room, that same dark version, I'd also done the rimming of like a canvas that I painted, so that will kind of mirror that. So you'll see that at the end, but I didn't film it because I thought it would be kind of boring to just watch me do the same thing 3 times. Long-time members of the channel will know that I don't actually have a favourite colour, and you may have like rejoiced thinking, oh yeah, he's fun. No, I haven't. The phthalo turquoise is just a placeholder until I do find my real favourite colour, just because people ask me, and it's a bit like snooty to say I don't have a favourite colour actually. So, you know, I've just picked that one for now, but no doubt I will pick a different one in future. Just quickly, a couple of things that are noteworthy on this one: the Hobbit house, the peace symbol, the pizza, I guess, I like pizza, and the little hyena which I drew there. And here's the finished thing. You can see the phthalo turquoise worked quite nicely as a background colour, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe if you did, and, you know, give this a go if you fancy it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!